Hi, church family. Angie here, and we are going to be doing prayer meeting a little bit different this summer as we do during the year. So instead of meeting and praying together as a church on Wednesday evenings, I'm going to be going over the prayer guide in a video, and you guys will then watch it and then pray, hopefully at home with your families together. So the goal and the point of this prayer guide here is it's not to be legalistic, right? So it's a guide, and it's supposed to provide points or a guide for you to use during prayer. It's not supposed to feel burdensome. It's not supposed to be like a checklist that you have to check off. You don't have to go through each of these bullet points and pray about them every week or so. This is really truly just supposed to be a tool or a guide that you use in your prayer life. The first part right here is first I'll start. We go through the ACTS model. So that's adoration, confession, thanksgiving, and supplication. And that's how the guide is organized. So at the very top, you'll see adoration. Then you have confession, you have thanksgiving, and then all of this is supplication. And so first we will go through the adoration, the confession, and this part up here is truly meant to be a starting point for you to kind of go off on your own prayer journey. These are just different topics that you can use to think about as you're going through your time of adoration or confession with the Lord. And you don't have to use it. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. You can do whatever it is that you want. You can share and talk about whatever it is that you want during your prayer time. But if you don't have an idea of where to start, this is a really good place to start. And it's something for you to be able to hold on to, or to be able to use to get you going. The rest of this, the bottom supplication part, and I'll explain each bucket a little bit more as we go and hit each one. But this bottom part, the point of that is to unite us in corporate prayer for things that matter to us and impact us as a local church. So these are things that we want to all be praying for together as the local body in unison to the Lord, because all of these things are things that are important, or that do impact us. So that's why it's such a bigger portion. That doesn't mean that you should spend more time down here than you do up here. But yeah, okay. So to start off with, for adoration, we will always start with a psalm. And the psalm for this week, well, first I will also say that these prayer guides you can always find at church next to the sound booth, which is in the little basket hanging right off the side of it. And so Pastor Jay will print them and put a stack of them over there in the basket. You can grab one on Sunday before or after church, and then have it at home that you can use to pray through all week or for the next 2 weeks. So first will be adoration in Psalm 40. And I do use my Bible, so you're going to want your Bible too. So Psalm 40, I relied completely on the Lord, and he turned toward me and heard my cry for help. He lifted me out of the watery pit, out of the slimy mud. He placed my feet on a rock and gave me a secure footing. He gave me reason to sing a new song, praising our God. May many see what God has done, so that they might swear allegiance to him and trust in the Lord. How blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord and does not seek help from the proud or from liars. O Lord, my God, you have accomplished many things. You have done amazing things and carried out your purposes for us. No one can thwart you. I want to declare your deeds and talk about them, but they are too numerous to recount. Receiving sacrifices and offerings are not your primary concern. You make that quite clear to me. You do not ask for burnt sacrifices and sin offerings. Then I say, look, I come. What is written in the scroll pertains to me. I want to do what pleases you, my God. Your law dominates my thoughts. I have told the great assembly about your justice. Look, I spare no words. O Lord, you know this is true. I have not failed to tell about your justice. I spoke about your reliability and deliverance. I have not neglected to tell the great assembly about your loyal love and faithfulness. O Lord, you do not withhold your compassion from me. May your loyal love and faithfulness continue to protect me. for innumerable dangers surround me. My sins overtake me, so I am unable to see. They outnumber the hairs of my head, so my strength fails me. Please be willing, O Lord, to rescue me. O Lord, hurry and help me. May those who are trying to snatch away my life be totally embarrassed and ashamed. May those who want to harm me be turned back and ashamed. May those who say to me, "Aha, aha," be humiliated and disgraced. May all those who seek you be happy and rejoice in you. May those who love to experience your deliverance say continually, "May the Lord be praised. I am oppressed and needy. May the Lord pay attention to me. You are my helper and my deliverer. Oh my God, do not delay." So our confession point for this week is going to be praying for God's kingdom and not mine. Now, I think it really gives us a good idea of how the flesh fights with the spirit in our first verse, which is going to be Galatians 5:16 through 18. So I'm going to read that first. That says, "But I say, live by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desires of the flesh. For the flesh has desires that are opposed to the Spirit, and the Spirit has desires that are opposed to the flesh. For these are in opposition to each other, so that you cannot do what you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law." I think that is so encouraging to know that it is normal for our flesh to war against our spirit. And I think that we see that many times through scripture, calling us to fight against that, the fleshly desires and things like that. So it's comforting to know that it's normal, and it's comforting to know that that is required of us. That is what we are called to do, is to fight against it. Now we're going to move to the book of John, chapter 4, verse 31 through 38, which is the second scripture. And this is what Jesus has to say about that. So that is going to be 4:31. Okay. So this is when Jesus was with his disciples, and this little blurb is titled "Workers for the Harvest." "Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, 'Rabbi, eat something.' But he said to them, 'I have food to eat that you know nothing about.' So the disciples began to say to one another, 'No one brought him anything to eat, did they?' Jesus said to them, 'My food is to do the will of the one who sent me, and to complete his work. Don't you say, there are 4 more months and then comes the harvest. I tell you, look up and see that the fields are already white for harvest. The one who reaps receives pay and gathers fruit for eternal life, so that the one who sows and the one who reaps can rejoice together. For in this instance, the saying is true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap what you did not work for. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor." So Jesus, our great high priest, God incarnate, came down and said, "My food is to do the will of the one who sent me and to complete his work." I mean, that is just really amazing to think that the God of the entire universe was made incarnate in flesh and came in and humbled himself and submitted himself to provide, to be this example for us, and to so absolutely do and explain and express and show us that he has come to do God's will. And if this is what he did, how much more should we do it as well? So that takes us to the next passage, which is going to be in Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 through 10. So if Jesus is giving us this example and showing us through his example of saying, "I'm here to do God's will," he also has told us explicitly what we should do and how we should do it. And that is what this verse is for. This is when he teaches the apostles how to pray. Whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, because they love to pray while standing in synagogues and on street corners so that people can see them. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your inner room, close the door, and pray to your Father in secret. And your Father, who sees in secret, will reward you. When you pray, do not babble repetitiously like the Gentiles, because they think that by their many words they will be heard. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. So pray this way: Our Father in heaven, may your name be honored. May your kingdom come. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I'm going to stop there because I feel like the Lord's Prayer is one of those things that's so common to us, and it's hard to stop and just meditate on a portion of it when you're so used to saying the whole thing together. So I want you guys to stop and take a moment and really think about what it says that Jesus explicitly told us to pray this way. May your name be honored. May your kingdom come. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The next verse that we're going to go to is going to be in the book of Romans, and that is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And that says, do not be conformed to this present world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may test and approve what is the will of God, what is good and well-pleasing and perfect. And I really love this verse because it's full of action. It's full of continual action now. So it's not something that's done. It's not something that will be done. It is an ongoing thing. So if you look at the words that are used here, it's do not be conformed. Conformed is, it's an active, ongoing activity. It's saying do not allow this active, ongoing activity of this present world to impact you, I guess you can say. But be transformed. Again, it is an ongoing, active thing by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind is also, it's full of action. It's present. It's not done, so that you may test and approve what is the will of God. So knowing the will of God is not a one-time thing. It's not something that you will know and then say, yep, check, I know what the will of God is. It is something that you have to test. You have to approve it. It's done through the Spirit, and there is the correct will of God, and there is an incorrect will of God. And so our final verse is going to go to an example of how Jesus did exactly that, and how we how we could do the same. And so that last verse is going to be in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verses 36 through 46. And it's at the Garden of Gethsemane. Then Jesus went with him to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to the disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee and became anguished and distressed. Then he said to them, "My soul is deeply grieved, even to the point of death. Remain here and stay awake with me." Going a little farther, he threw himself down with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not what I will, but what you will." Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. He said to Peter, "So couldn't you stay awake with me for 1 hour? Stay awake and pray that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will must be done." Then he came again and found them sleeping. They could not keep their eyes open. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same thing once more. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour is approaching, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let us go. Look, my betrayer is approaching." So, what a powerful example to see, again, Jesus, the God of the universe, incarnate, in flesh, struggle so deeply and being anguished and distressed and grieved because of this battle that he's fighting. And I think that it's whenever we struggle with the very same battle, it can be discomforting. It can be discouraging to think, why do I struggle so much with it when Jesus, our great high priest, did so as well? And he gave us a model on how to deal with that. He showed us how to walk through that, how to submit to his Father's will. And so in our time of prayer today, I want to really think about that and pray that we may have the fortitude and the perseverance to struggle well and to ultimately yield to the Lord's will being done in our lives as opposed to our will being done in our lives. So that is for the confession and the adoration. So right now you can pause the video and take a moment and just pray in adoration and confession. That's usually what we do during prayer meeting, is we'll pause here at this point, we will pray together, and then once we are done praying in adoration and confession, then we will come back together and we will go back through the supplication. But for the purposes of this video, I will just keep going. So for supplication, I have the prayer requests for our church under this first bullet here. I have some long-term prayer requests here and some praise and Thanksgiving reports up here. So I'll let you guys read those on your own. And I will start going over these 4 buckets in the supplication portion. The first one is praying for the lost. These 4 buckets are always going to be the same, so they will always be praying for the lost, praying for our church as a whole, praying for our church individually, and praying for missions, nations, and leaders. And each week, the content of each of those buckets will rotate and change out. So this week, praying for the lost, we are going to be praying for the salvation of all of our neighbors by name. So I want you to think of the neighbors, the people that live in proximity to you in your neighborhood, in the grocery store that you see every week. It can be in your kids' extracurricular activities. It can be your doctor's offices. It can be your coworkers at work, just people that are in your orbit, in your life, that are not believers. They may not necessarily be your friends or your family, but they are your neighbors. So I want you to think of them and jot down the people who come to mind by name and just pray for them specifically by name. Doesn't have to be elaborate, but just take their name to the Lord. The quote that I have for praying for the lost is, "I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within them. I will remove the hearts of stone from their bodies, and I will give them tender hearts, so that they may follow my statutes and observe my regulations and carry them out. Then they will be my people, and I will be their God." And that's in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 11, 19 through 20. So we want to pray that for those lost neighbors. I also wrote to pray that God may put his spirit within them, removing their hearts of stone for flesh, that God may free them from the slavery of sin and remove Satan's binding influence. And I also put there that you may pray for them persistently and faithfully, that you may have a burden to plead for their souls. I know just this past week, I had a moment of where my perseverance faltered. There is somebody that I have been praying for a very long time, and I was discouraged. I was discouraged because I felt like I didn't see results, and it was definitely a kindness that the Lord showed me my lack of resolve, and that I had a hardened heart toward this person that I was supposed to be praying for diligently and persistently. So praying that you may have that that desire to continue praying, even if you can't see change, or even if you have no idea whether or not anything is happening, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you see it or if you don't see it. It's God's plan, it's God's will, and God will do what he pleases, and that is good. That is what we should want as well. So the next bullet is going to be praying for our church as a whole. And I have for us to pray for our staff and their families. So I have the Morans, the Laws, Dixons, all of the children's ministry volunteers, our Sunday school teachers, our Wednesday night volunteers, VBS volunteers, worship team, and volunteers for worship, and small group leaders. I know many of them are taking a break for summer, but they are still leaders in our church. So I have for us to be thanking God for the gift that each of them are to our church in building up believers and equipping us to serve him. They truly, truly are a gift from God. He calls them, he equips them, he brings them to us, and they truly are a gift to be able to serve selflessly in all of these different capacities. And so just being thankful for what they do and how they do it, despite whether we directly benefit from it or not. They are true gifts, and we should be thankful for them. The next bullet I have is that God may meet their spiritual, emotional, and physical needs, and for spiritual protection over their families. And finally, for them to stay humble, dependent on Christ, and aware of their need for his grace, especially in serving the church, because they are going to be open to attacks from the enemy. And so we want to pray for their protection. The next bullet is going to be praying for missions, nations, and leaders. So the quote I have here is, "God save us from living in comfort while sinners are sinking into hell." And that was Charles Spurgeon who said that. Our mission for this week is the IRBS, which is the International Reformed Baptist Seminary, I believe is what it stands for. But praying for wisdom in their curriculum development and for their staff hiring choices. They're in the middle of hiring some staff that will be helping them make the transition from being mainly online into being a more in-person seminary. And also they're asking prayers for direction and guidance on which land to purchase for their new location because of that change that they are trying to make from online to in-person seminary. Also, we're praying for wisdom among elders to decide on a church school mentorship opportunity and for other community ministry opportunities. So there is a mentorship partnership with an organization, with schools, that the elders are praying about whether our church wants to take that on or not. And so if you would please pray for wisdom and guidance for them to make the right decision of what the Lord wants us to do as a church, that would be great. The next bullet is praying for the continent of Africa. And so this is, my abbreviations may not make sense if you just read them, so I will explain what all of these numbers and what all of this is. So the continent of Africa is 48.8% Christian, which Christianity is the largest denomination in Africa, but only 17.7% evangelical Christian. So that means the other Christianity denominations that get bundled under that title could be Catholic, Orthodox, other denominations that are not considered evangelical. So only 17.7% of the population are evangelical Christians. So if you would pray that Christians may be effective missionaries, specifically against Muslims, in boldness and without fear. for a pure church, a syncretism is a major problem. So Africa is seeing a lot of conversions through prayer meetings and revivals and things like that. And the problem is the discipleship aspect of it. So people are converting, but then they don't have that structure in place to teach them what true Christianity is. And so there is a lot of blending between witchcraft or other religions blending into Christianity, creating this new belief system that is different in different places. And so really praying for the purity of the church down there is what I have that down here. So also praying for the north-south fault line between the Muslims and the Christians in Nigeria and Sahel. Praying for violence to be foiled and for peace to prevail. There is a lot of tension along that fault line, and which is why before it was requested for the missionary specifically to pray against Muslims in boldness to be able to go evangelize them, because there's a big conflict there, and there really is a war between Muslims who are wanting to go out and evangelize and convert people to their religion, and the Christians who are trying to evangelize and go out and be bold for Christ as well. And so there's a lot of attacks from both sides, and so they would really they really need our prayers to help them in that endeavor. And also for prayers for continued blessing on prayer movements in the country. That is one thing that Africa does amazing, is their prayer movements. They have all-night prayer vigils, which is really remarkable. It said that people really understand the importance and the reality of spiritual warfare. They have seen it. And so they are very willing to dedicate time, hours, nights in prayer together, in corporate prayer for a variety of things, and that they have gatherings that are up to like 500,000 people strong, which is really, really cool. I pray that it would spread to the rest of the world as well. The last bullet is going to be praying for our church, for individuals in our church. And down here I have for you to pull up the church directory and pray for the family right after your family. And if you were the last one, then go up to the top and pray for the first family. And the church directory should be linked to the email that this video goes out in also, so it should be easy to find for you. And as you're praying for the family behind yours, these are some good starting points of where to pray for, or what to pray for. The first is going to be for the Lord to awaken the desire for spiritual growth and to develop consistent spiritual disciplines, yearning like newborn infants for pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up to salvation. And that verse is found in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 2. Also praying for wisdom and growing in grace and knowledge, for praying for being transformed by the renewing of the mind and walking worthy of the Lord. And the last bullet is praying for overcoming spiritual obstacles and breaking sin patterns. So gives you some things to start for. And again, you don't have to pray for just that. You pray for that family, for whatever it is that may come to mind. Maybe things that you're struggling with. You can pray about things that they're struggling with, if you know them, or just whatever. These are just starting points. But I hope this is a blessing. I hope it makes sense. And I pray that you guys have fruitful and blessed prayer time in your families. Thanks for watching.